This is um, what's today? Yud Gimel. Yeah, today's Yud Gimel Oda Aleph. Hemshech Tov Reishayin Beis. Chelik Aleph. Dibur Maschil B'Yom Hashmini Atzeres. Amud Tov Lamed. Leading on to Tov Lamed Aleph. So we saw the difference between the korbanos and what they represent in Avodas Hashem compared to the Inyan Ketores. And we saw that the korbanos in Yonam was nasa al Mizbeach HaChitoni Be'Ohel Moed in the Azorah. And we saw that the Inyan of Chitonius Alev was an Ava which Alaf the Milas in these Bonas, when I get to that Ava, it's Sof an Ava Mishyashev is Bekli. And it was connected with the Inyan of Beklalos Liyavos Hashem Alakecha Ki Hucha Chayecha, and that was Toitzah from his bonus in Mechalchel Chayim B'Chesed, with the whole period we had in Mechalchel Chayim B'Chesed, even from Tzli B'Toy Kli, but the Amshachar of the Oya Dafki Lefi Erech HaNivroim B'Chol Echad V'Echad B'Frat. That's the union from Amitius V'Ika. HaNivro is Chayes Erekisha Boy B'Chol Sharei Advarim Meim Tfeilim. Dafki Alidei is Bonanas Kazu. There's the union of Ava V'Dveikis in Elikus. Aber we saw that it's the union of Dveikis Mitzad Chitzenius Alev, and therefore its union is Dafki Manucha V'Shashvas Be'anefesh. But we saw that the union from Pnimis Alev connected with the Mizbeach HaPnimi, but that was Inyan HaKetores, and we brought down the Pirush of the word Ketores, and we spoke about that. We mentioned that at some length, that's an Aramic word. The Shurish of the word Ketores is a root in the Sofa Aramis, well, that's the Inyan from Keter or Ketar, meaning Kesher. And we saw that Ketores was the Inyan of the Iskashras, the Etzem HaNefesh, the Be'erein Sefer, the Atzmius, the Neshama, which is Makusha Balavochi, Tmidi Be'efen Tmidi and Erein Sefer Baruch. And we brought down the Lashon of the Rashbi, it's brought down right at the end of the Zoya, in the Idruzutra, right near the Bisman HaIstalkis. So Rashbi, that he said about himself, B'chad Ketira is Katana, Bei Achida and Bei Lahita, that we sort of with Chad Ketira with a Kesher Echad, what it's Mavur, B'habi Mekemes, that's even Yechida, and even Lamayla Yechida, that's the discussions of the Etzem HaNefesh, in Elikus, Mitzad the Tmidias, and the Amitias, the Iskashras, of the Neshama Balavochi B'Shorsha B'Elikus. I got a full house tonight. Balavochi in Elikus. And like it's Mavur in the Hemshech Samavov in Parsha Lech Lecha, not far from the beginning of the Hemshech, where the Rebbe, even though it's not the Ika Inyan of that Hemshech, but it's a Perik, and nonetheless he gets onto that whole statement of the Rashbi, and he talks over there about that Iskashras, the Rashbi in Elikus, B'chad Ketira is Katana, and he talks also about the two Inyanim from Bei Achida or Bei Lahita, or Bei Achida. Those are these Kashas Atzmius of the Neshama in Elikus, and therefore this is an Ava which is Mitzad the Etzem, not Mitzad the Koiches Pnimim, as we'll soon see in a minute. And the inyan from Beila Hito, that's the inyan from Eish, the inyan the Eish Amitia, the Neshama has Eilev Niklau, and loses its whole Metzias in Elikus, like he's Mavayim Perek Yutes. The Neshama Teva, Mitzadetzim Teva, is Eilev Nidbak, V'Shor Shalamayla. And Mamel, that's the two inyanim of Beyachida, and that was a Madregik Tamidias of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. That was Inyonei Boifen Tmidi. Shuas Kashrus Shalamayla Mia Seichel. So that's already a inyan ein arech legabi what we saw the Mizbeach HaChitzon. We saw the Mizbeach HaChitzon was Davki Anava, which is Mishyashiv in the Kelim, and it comes Davki mitzad his boninus, and we saw Davki mitzad the inyan from Hasoge, the Adam is Misbeinen in Shorshoy and Elin Yoter. But those are all inyanim that can be nikofim and nitfasim b'sichloi. And alidei zeh is mamshich hachayis elikus and hachayis in elikus b'toich koiches hapnimiyim until he's misoyra b'dveikes v'yav elikus or b'tor and even how he understands and he's mashik elikus and mamela this is mishashiv b'toich hakli. Ila this ava, that's in a even from had ketira bei achido bei lahito, those are mitzad the etzem is kashrus and the etzem are beetle b'metzias and the shurish and neshama in elikus. So and therefore it's a inyan from lamayla legamri me'aseichol. So ask yourself the shaila, how do you get to such an ava? If it's legamri lamayla me'aseichol, what do you do all of a sudden? You just give a sprung or a wave or something, and all of a sudden you just leave behind all the seichel and all the koiches hanefesh, and you just up in a inyan from a eish, lahito nisraf legamri in elikus, beliko metzias klal, or klal liatzmei. How do you get there? How do you start? So we see that it's a very interesting formula. The Yisayir Avazu, the arousal begolui of that Ava, he gam kein alidei's boninus. It begins with the inif and his boninus. But we'll see that here's a fascinating thing, like we described last year, that these boninus is already looking bifnim mitoich his boninus. It's only his boninus in order to lead you to Lamaila Me'aseichel. He is that the mensch just can't jump into Lamaila Me'aseichel. He can't even be Margish, Kosh Kein Masik, what are the Inyonim Shel Lamaila Me'aseichel, Ele Im Kein, he's mafshit himself from Inyonim Seichel. Avokadei, to be mafshit himself from Inyonim Seichel, he has to begin upon him in a certain gather of Seichel, which will lead him to a Lamaila Me'aseichel. In other words, there's a Seichel which will talk to him, but even because that he will be mafshit to such Mina Seichel. If you don't have a sefer, they ain't called time to be in Halimut. We don't have a 9 base up there anymore?
We've taken them all. They won't be used.
I think we used to have one up there.
No, they're all being used.
They're all being used.
We got it.
Because if you don't see aces, it's big to see schwimmen. You know what schwimmen is? To swim in deep waters. Is a mele, says the Rebbe, the arousal. This however is also through his boninus, but כשמיז בינן שכל בחינס האויר והחיה שבאילמס וכן כלולס ההשתלב שלו איך שכל זה הוא רק האור לבד שבאין הריח לגבי עצמס. העצמס הוא אין סעיף מופלא ומובדל מהאילמס. So we see it's like another what you might call traffic light. It's like another direction altogether. In the previous Isboninus, Mitzad Chitonias, Halev, we saw that Stavki taking all the Inyonim and bringing them into the Kli through a Inyan of Ava and Isboninus, which is shy to the Inyan Oilamas and to the Shurish of his whole, his harvest, and a higher Oilam, and how all the Inyonim lead him to a Yoiker and a Gishmak, in the fact that the Eibush is Machaya all the Eilam. I said, Merle, Avos Hashem Alakecha, Ki Yucha, Chayecha, Davki HaKoch, in the Elikus HaNimshech El Adam. V'amachaya is a V'be'eza oifen, like we saw, be'eza oifen hu achayas. There's a chilik between a bria and between yitzira, between asiya, that causes him a chayas nifla in the chayas eloki. He has a chayas in chayas, a chayas in the chayas. Oh, but the whole meaning of this is Bonan is only like we saw last week. To lead him upwards, he should go beyond the whole meaning of his Bonanas and the whole meaning of Anasogas Aseichel. Because he's misbeinen how all those inyanim which brought him to such a koch and to such a Yisraelis, all those inyanim are only just ha'oras ba'alma ve'elim kol erech klal legabi amitis Ein say legabi atzmus oyer ein say vafil in the union von oyer koshkein legabi atzmus and he sees how all these inyonim being manit via ha'ora buvad is legabi atzmus ein lem ko erech klal and the mamish ein arech legabi shorshem ba'atzmus ein say that he's mufla umudal min oilamas. What mufla means as well known. Relatively separate. Al Capone, there's some possibility still to grasp the in it, and moved on it separately. Legamri, like it's well known. But he gets an azil as a portoloshin in the Torah. Ish ki yafli neder lahozir nozil Hashem ki yafli. What we see that's in from Pele, that he elevates himself from Shah b'nei Adam al yedei what he's misnazem in a yayin and a gefen v'chulu. Amamela, Al Chaponin has a certain erech between him and Shari b'nei Adam, even though he is mufla. But that's in a pele, but the in from mufdol is even lamayla miseh, in from avdola muchletes. The efes kotseyu yucholiyes gamkein a soge bo'efen ha'aflua de erintzei. He said, however, there can be a quickie. We have is kotehu yugoliyes gamkein asoge be'even afloa de erein seif alidei yediyes vasoges ashlilo. So since we said that there's also a lead-in from this is bonus to mufla, it's shaykh a certain asoga also in that inyan. And we see that everywhere where we can, we try to build on the inyan from asoga at the beginning. And that's a big cloud in Chassidus, that anything which is built on what you might call spiritual skuladike zachen, not what you might call v'derech kvitzes v'kunzim v'chule, ein lehem kiyum amiti. There has to be, first of all, the usage of the inyan seichel, because seichel can work in two directions also. Seichel is a inyan pnimi etzor, v'adarab it's inyan pnimi v'atzmi etzor. So we see that Seichel can bring everything down into Al Bosha, and it can be Mazbinyonim, Lefi Erech HaAdam, and Lefi Oifen HaAdam. But the Inyan from Seichel can also be Mafli itself, and it can go upwards, and as Amin Oifen, that it's Mafshit itself from all Inyonim Slapshas. Particularly the Koyach HaChochma, V'chulu, it's well known, the Koyach HaFlo, and the Koyach HaShota, that there is in the Inyan from Chochma. So that's what we're talking in the first Chichenius Alev, or that's in from Moichin Ashayachim Elalev, or that's how Moichin are moving what you might call downwards. It's how the whole Amshocha and the whole Keder is in from Gilev Amshocha Lefi Koiches Adam. The Ila this inyan, that's in from Aliyah V'Havshotas Aseichel. And the Father says the Rebbe, it's possible, even this is a common thing in the works of the Rebbe, and Etter he talks about in the beginning of the Hemshech Bariches, that it's possible for there to be a certain asoge even in the oifen afla, in the way that Oyer Seif is mufla from the elements. In other words, that you can gain some picture of just how muvdal that Oyeri or mufla, just how mufla that Oyer is from the whole mokir of Seder Aishtaushel. So Kamuvan, or that's somebody that is Isaac Binyoni Mele be Toikif Ribui Proteas. But Masira Nasina Linyoni Melu, as he's able to have a soga fill in the oifan of the afloa. And how is that? Al Yedei Yediyas Vasogas Ashlila. That's what he's talking about there. And at the two forms of asoga. Asoga Sachiyu is where you talk about a thing that you can define it and you know what it's in Yonimah, and you can bring it into the gather of the asoga Sabina, and it can be malbishet, as you might say, Bishare HaKoechem. But that's in Asoga Sachiyu. You can talk about the Inyan Kamoishu, and the Seichel is Teifus, their Inyan Inyan, how Seichel is an emes Koya Penimi. Over the Inyan from Asoga Sachlila, what Seichel says, that all can tell you is what this thing is not. In other words, it can just keep going higher and reaching a higher form of asoga, and then instead of bringing that down into a whole posher, it takes you up the other way and says, oh yes, well that's not the street. It's like you get a big long esber from somebody, you're trying to find your way, and then he gives you a whole long arichas, is the famous joke, you know. And they say, oh yeah, but by the way, that's not the street. That's not it. It's a lozer b'klau. In other words, that you gain a tremendous appreciation of a certain inyan, and then the seichel itself that taught you all that then is shoef klapi maila, with the yud, with the koicha shel yud, shoef klapi maila, and it says, oh yeah, but it's not that klau. All that we spoke about, that's only the beginning of the emes hemshich is as a lozer. It's not that at all. That's the inyan from asoga shashlila. So asoga shashlila, just by even klal is a lozer because it's a ein seif, is a muf. Or we can say that there's been so much proti avona in Yonim what it is shad to be masik, that then he can say, but maybe it's not that Inyan, and it's muflim Inyan zeh, muflim Inyan zeh, for oid muflim Inyan zeh, till alidei proti isaskes in this Inyan for Asoga Sashlila, he can come to a certain appreciation just how much, or just the way in which even the Erein Seif is mufla mi shur shashtaus. Akamuvan, that's only in the Inyan from mufla, nicht im Mugdal, as we said before. Lagamri abo chaponim in the Inyan from how it's mufla. In the Inyan from Seivei kol almin lamashal. That's my word. That is Inyan from Seivei, which al chaponim is makiv alo ilam. You can come to a certain appreciation just how much that's makiv and what sort of uifan. But he's a derech zemudal. That's the Inyan from Asoga Hashlila, where you talk about what the Inyan is not what you talk about what it is or could be, but you talk about what it's not, B'yemet. That's called Asoga Hashlila, and therefore you have a certain appreciation in the even of the Afla. There's a lot about that from the Rabbi in Eter and in Samach and Shari Makim is a lot of different, in Samovovish got about it, in the middle of the Hampshire, is Yesh B'Seh Habei incidents, and here he just mentions that Kilo B'Derech Siko. That's Inyan from Asoga Hashlila. Shali Deizeh, when that happens, he said, once your mind, your koiches pnimium, that's the only way to emes pnimius in a mensch. Your koiches pnimium pull you in the other way. The traffic light is working like even acher. Instead of them bringing everything down into you, they say to you, give a cook how it's completely not you, and completely not what we think, and not what we can even have any form of a sogas achiyu b'zeh klal. All we can just know, the form, even in the idealist sense, the form of the afloa. So then a mensch gets a inyan of going out of himself and upwards and out of himself legamri. In other words, his whole koya pnimi teaches him to go up. And that's the Maila that it starts off with Seichel, because it starts off with the feet on the ground, but then they take him completely, but if he just started off without the infant Seichel, he doesn't have any ground for the whole thing. It's just like they call in the old saying, as it a tansel mit a gartel. That's like, it's a little, what they call, They used to say once upon a time that the Polish don't angesund, we don't mean anything. The Polish Chassidim gehen auf viele Aussprachen mit Gartel, so der Tanzel mit der Gartel, ein Junge tanzt mit der Junge Gartel. In other words, das stammt in der Welt. Immer mehr. But that's the whole Indian. If you start off without seichel, without any real knowledge, you say, "Oh yes, I'm l'mayla mi'aseichel." Ain't ko efshari is bezeh. In other words, you can only be l'mayla mi'aseichel if you did everything you could with seichel, and then seichel itself has been blessed by the Eibishter that itself elevates you and takes you michutz legidrei aseichel. Then the whole thing's got a basis, and it's mitzad the pnimis order. In other words, he is involved in that with all that he's got. He's not just dancing around. Edifar said the Rebbe, he be'emes has a rotzer kolo ba'atzmus that he wants be'emes to go out. A rotzer, the union of going out and upwards, but it's a emes, a rotzer, because it's been worked out. How to use the expression, he's got it all worked. He's got it all worked out. It's a rotzer amiti based on a knowledge and a picture in his mind. Kamas she'efshar of the afloa of the Ein Tov. And kamuvan, that leads him even further and further in Dakas Ha'ina. Therefore, he's in Azamin Even that he's got this rotzer to be niklal in Ein Tov, to lose his matzias altogether. He kolel means that he wants to go into Atzmus, not that he wants to bring Elikus into his cave. He wants to lose himself, like he brings over there, Prekiyatesa, the Emes the Neshama is the Dobi Basher Shemekir, Afal Pisha, the Tafsi, the Lo Tishoyer, Miyuma, Mitziusa Horishay. Nothing will remain from the first Matiyah. I mean, we mean here an Emes HaMadrege, similar to what the Alter Rebbe said, that he doesn't want will nicht Gan Eden Atacht, nicht Gan Eden Ha'elyon. Take him, he's going to deal with Gan Eden Atacht and Gan Eden Ha'elyon. That's what the Indian of Mili B'Shamayim. I don't have, who do I have in the heavens, in the higher Elam is Ve'imcha. I feel those things which are Mamish Tofer, Repotel, Eilecha, Imcha, Leicha Fatzti, they're Ba'oret. That I down here in this world don't have any chayfetz for those in Yonim, even though I should. If I'm Ba'oret, then I should have a chayfetz for those in Yonim. And he said, no, I don't have a chayfetz because I want only the Amitius Atzmas himself. And that's it's a Takar and Dem Posik that over there in Derech Mitzvah Secha in Korev Lasof Mitzvah Shosh Mitzvah Tfilah, the Rebbe the Tzemel Tzedek brings down the story about how the Alter Rebbe used to say, "Ich will nicht ein Gan Eden, nicht ein Olam Haba, ich will nicht das Dich Allein." That's a state in the Sipur, in mitten the drush of Shosh Mitzvah Tfilah. We're not in mitten, it's Korev Lasefer. The Rebbe Rasham brings it in another place. Avizu Benusach Acher, a different story that he brings there that the Alter Rebbe used to roll around sometimes when he used to bake it, so he used to roll on the floor. He raved Dveikusei, but once they heard him rave Dveikusei, he's Galgaloi Oretz, so he said there, I will understand that as Dichalei, and it's a little bit different. The story is a little bit sort of K'tas Boi V'Nacher. Aber the movement is dezelfde. So therefore he says, the Shamayim V'Oret ain't Gan Eden Ha'elyon, Gan Eden Ha'Tachte. And that's what the Alter Rebbe said. He will nicht ein Gan Eden. So I mean, Gan Eden can have different possibilities. It can be Gan Eden Ha'Tachte, and it can be Gan Eden Ha'elyon. V'kasher is Boine. Eich Sha'Giluyim. The Gan Eden ain't Gam Kein Racha Orale Vod. That the Giluyim Harayah and Gan Eden are also only Ha-Ore. Now what does he mean, Gam Kein? What does it touch Gam Kein? What's it the Chiddush? It's well known that Gan Eden is L'mayla Mi'olam is Biyah. Gan Eden is a giluf von Atzilus in Bia. It's a ha'ora choponim von Atzilus in Bia. Kiyadua. That's in from Bina, the Atzilus, that's Meir Alidei Malchus, the Atzilus into Gan Eden, into Olam HaBriya. Gan Eden Elye, al choponim. And therefore, he said that whole Indian from Gan Eden, it's also ha'ora. The biyud nivra Olam HaBo. In other words, the he's teaching Olam HaBo is referring to Gan Eden. What Loi told me, we say that, but in many Jewish cities we do teach the word Olam HaBo, meaning that which comes after the life in this world, is referring to the even Gan Eden. Mamela, he said, Shamayim v'Oretz is both madrigas. He said they're also ha'ora. Why? Because the biyud nivra Olam HaBo, the whole Olam HaBo is menet v'ya nakuda be alma. It's also gabi amitis atzmas. It's one nakuda. It's one yudalim. Like gabi the ganze even the atzmas. Amamela that follows. V'zeo v'im chaloicha chofatzti. Was it a touch im chaloicha chofatzti? Gam b'chinas ki im cho makeir chayim. Even that which is described by the pasuk itself as being im cho. In other words, with you. And what is that? Makeir chayim. Who b'chinas mokeir chayim or mokeir tanugim amusogim. That's a very interesting lesson. That's mokeir tanugim which are musogim. In other words, the tanugim which are not musogim. They're tanugim mitzad the atzmas. Kavur barichas and some of all. Ganz arichas of the tainig atzmi aposhet, the tainig atzmi aposhet amurgash, the tainig atzmi abilti murgash. The ganz arichas. But those all minyanim von tanugim which are bilti musogim. They're not mitzadini von atzogim. And they're shayt tafkit Olam HaBo amiti take miyad mamish zecher sein. Zu sein in die von Olam HaBo amiti. Amamele dort ist tanugim bilti musogim. Aber die Nonne von Gan Eden, Tanugim, der Ribui Tanugim, ja, Halleluja Sela. Es geht doch auf den Neshamas ja in Gan Eden, Bilti Sof. Aber Afu Pikein, das ist Bilti Sof. Und das auch even, that Sof ko Sof, yesh beze Asoge. Different levels in Asoge, ad ein Sof. So there we said, that's all Tanugim amusogim. Between the Asoge, Vavonas, a Chochma began Eden, a Tartan began Eden, Alien, albeit it's een van de Asoge, a Chochma. It's een van Beetle in Elikus, or Sokos of its Asoge. So goes there, who Imcha Vatofele, Lecho, so in an even van, Imcha, Einach Anami, it's Ki Imcha Mekeir Chaim, and Mekeir Chaim is all the Tanugim. Had a jaar, Mitzad the Madrigas in Gan Eden, what is Tanugim Gedolim Vatsumim. But it's all in an even for Tofel for Botel. So one on the word Imcho indicates that even Tofel for Botel. He says, what do I need all that? Yeah, what I need all that for? That's all just ha'oras bi alma, which are boim lidei asoge. Right, the Alter Rebbe says at the end of Perek Dalet, where he talks about the asoge in Gan Eden, he says, "Vi efshel shum nivra." We bring to ein tain of l'shum nivra, ela b'maisha masik. That's a taina which is lefi erech hanivra, so called so. It's a taina which comes to the nivra lefi koichois of who. Hamamela says the Rebbe, it's a whole Indian from Tofel. All of that I didn't have any pnimis or rotten in that at all. Ainly chayfetz bezer. Rachli kolel beginners atzmes. The whole Indian is to go out to the Indian for the atzmes, to be kol mamishpe aer shalamayla mikol giluyim, and that does. No, the immediate Indian from pshitas atzmes, how is lamayla mikol tanugim mikol giluyim, which can have any reference to hasoge. That's already the beginning of this whole principle. The Alter Rebbe, that you don't need anything to have to start a whole new Gan Eden. Komt dus a Yid, what he's durchgenommen mit dem Asoge, mit dem Gefühl, mit dem approach to whole even going higher than Asoge. The Gan Eden, that's not something that it's not really it's not really something that can draw him, not really something that's attractive to him. In other words, he's looking for something incomparably higher. Come over and look at the famous Maimon from Tzeis Tosis. So in Pasha Tazriya, that the Alter Rebbe says, we state lo yeh b'kavodim al manas l'kabel pras. And he says, the Oinim from Gan Eden is even from pras. It's a little prusa, a little piece cut off the loaf. He said, if you want, you have to be shelo al manas l'kabel pras, and you're only going for atzmas. I mean, it's well known, the famous. The Alter Rebbe that he made over die gemacht the whole Indian von Gan Eden Kiyadu the ganze Sipurim bezer. This is a brief policy statement for them Indian.
The Rav said before that that's a chiyuvus to Louis and the fact that there was a understanding of the chiyuv. If he didn't feel the mila of Gan Eden before he started this Hisbana, then
I'm not saying he doesn't feel the mile of Gan Eden. He goes beyond that. He's massive. Was it the mile of Gan Eden? But then he sees that that's only just a horror, like every day meet his heart. Yeah. So I mean, it's not that he doesn't have any hasoga in Gan Eden, right? That he just completely bypasses it altogether. They have to have a certain hasoga, but he doesn't see that to be the aim of all of his chukah. You understand? His chukah is for them. Dafki mikoyat the hasoga sashlila. The going upwards the whole time. Because so the hasog in Gan Eden is am shocha b'toich hakli. So of course. And he said, Kol zeh lo ichofatzi rak leach, he called it b'chinus atzmus ein say. And it's an amazing principle. So every said
Imcha is also tofes mokom. Also the levels of Imcha is also tofes mokom. It's not.
Because it's saying it's Imcha.
It's not. It's tafel and still holds.
Imcha means together with you, as it were. But sometimes the word im, it's brought down. There's still one money what they bring. There's a lesson of a Mishnah that in Yevamos or somewhere it's stated in the Mishnah that Yorshei HaBaal Yorshim im Yorshei HaIsha or something like that. So what it means is that the Ikar Yorsh is the Baal. His Yorsh. But these other ones can also be Yorsh if he's not around, or he's not B'chaim or something, ain't low Yorshim, then these are also Yorsh. I mean, but they're Im Yorsh, they're bottle of Tofel. Still has a lotion in a Mishnah, which indicates clearly the word Im can be used in a form of Tofel or Botel. So it says that that's the union of Im Cho Loi Chofatzt. Amira says, say, Indian Aktoiros, or those are Indian from Ktoiros, or that's the Taich, these Kashras, or the Kesher, Shalamayla mi Seichel HaMusahak, Shalamayla begins Yitzia mi Akli HaMakbil. Like we saw before, the whole Indian from the Koiches Pinim, the Mizbech HaChitzayin, and the whole Indian of the Chitzayni is allowed that's Tafki to bring everything into a Kli. To make the Kli a rich Kli, and how do you call it, a Kli with the Seiras, with Dveikis, Bechulu, of all Svimazot Lefig, Keil Shala, or Adam. This is like we said before, this is all taking the Adam in order to make him go up into Kiloi Adam. We state the last name of Kiloi Adam, who they're both in the Inyan from Elakus, in which he is Misasik, and both like Yabi, the Etzem Adam himself, that's into the Azoch Inyanim, which are beyond the Inyanim from Adam. The Inyanim from Lamailami Medida Vagbola, and outside the whole Inyan from Kli Hamakbil. That it's not a Inyan from Hagbala. Even though, and here we see the Peli, even though it starts off with a certain form of Hagbala, Kisokosov, Eza Hasoga Shalotia is a Hagbala. And even the Inyan from Hasogas Shlila is also a form of Hagbala. But we have to say that Hasoga, its whole purpose is just to lead into the Bilti Gvul. And the Ike is not so much the Hasoga, but they lead into the Bilti Gvul. And then the Nefesh itself, what you might call, turns on, and the Etzem HaNefesh senses Ein Seif how it is B'Emes Lamita. So come to us that the Hasoga only leads in to a higher Inyan, and that's what's called in many places. It's brought down even in the, I think it's even mentioned in the famous Maimon from Purim Kota, from the Friedrich Rebbe in Pei Zayin, in the Kibbutz Yehudim, it's a long time of different tiktukim dort. In some of those places, Peledik Inyonim dort stay. In dort, one of the things that's written over there, that the Indian from he calls it the Rusa de Liba. He calls it the from Rusa de Liba begins with his bonanas. Of a Sokosot, means goes up into the pshitas of the Ein Sof, and then all that is bonanas is done is just touch off the iskashus of the neshama mitzadatmo in the Ein Sof Eikshu Amiti. Well, the whole cycle is only like a leading ground in Kompel Bihaya. But he says that it has to be that way. Kadesh Kol Inyanim you Achmium Amitium, like we were masbeh before. And he calls it over there Rusa de Liba. And the word Rusa de Liba got different pirushim, it says, the truth is. Because in Tanya he mentions Rusa de Liba maybe 3 times, I think it is. Perek Zayin he brings Rusa de Liba, and Perek Hamates he mentions Rusa de Liba. I think again in Mem Gimel or Mem Dalet state the Rusa de Liba 3 times altogether. But over there it's a little bit more mashma that Rusa de Liba can still have a shachas mitzeichel, even though it means the rotzen haleiv, but it means the rotzen haleiv, the maila, the koch of leiv, the yisodus which is necessary to bring to all the ashpoyas that leiv can have. He brings that break. It's a sign that leiv gam came chumri, and therefore it's kolev and kolei body and in the other places it says where Rusa de Liba means the rotzen atzmi. Gamri l'mayla min hasoger, l'mayla min called gidrei hasoger. Therefore it's called Rusa de Liba mitzad the rotzen atzmi. So over there in that mind, almost it's in the Kibbutz Yehudim, the Rebbe Masber took this sort of principle of Beloshen Acher, that has to be the Isboninus first in the Inyonim Shelamayla and the Yasogas Ha'ora Bilvat, the Gabi Atzmas, and then there's the move into the Etzem. But the ultimate avoida is mitzad the Etzem Anishoma, not mitzad the Asoga. Nimsa the Asoga is only a kli of a Reinfield have to go in. It's like a base yard into the Ikka. But the Ikka is the Mashenkin in Chitzenius Aleh. The Ikka, the Ava, which is a Olo from the Asoga, does it the Ikka. And here the whole Indian is not that and the Seichel, the connection of the Seichel with that is a Ikka. Here the whole Indian, the Seichel is only a base yard. After again in the Amiti is Gilui or Hisoirus, which is the Etzem Anishom.
The more you understand the cycle, the more you can...
Yeah, the more you understand what you don't understand. And the more you understand what you don't understand, that touches off the Etzem HaNeshama. That the Etzem HaNeshama gets prompted by that proneness in the Adam, that he's longing for what you might call for the impossible in a way. So the Etzem HaNeshama says, well, it's not impossible, because that's what we really are. We're Yidden and we're Mela, that's what we are. Let's move together, but take Kol Inyan. In other words, the whole Inyan is only to touch off the Aveda of the Etzem. And I say it's Mashmador. That's what he brought the whole Maim of Rashbi. Like we said the other week, last week we mentioned. All of a sudden, forced to write Rashbi, and who can give the Damas Satzvil Rashbi? That's a very fascinating statement. What is this telling to ordinary people learning Amshka? We call this Rashbi, the Chant Katira. No. This is our union. What every year has got etzem and every. Rashbi was a man. This is Meir given by him. B'tachlis ha'or called him Eichayav. He was only the etzem and every man. That was what he was. Like it brings in the Perek we're learning now. Tanya Perek Koftes the tzaddik. He's called Inyonis man it with the nefesh alakis. So this is it. So Rashbi wasn't just at the union of nefesh alakis. No, the nefesh alakis how it is. And not even from Beyachida v'Beila. Beila Hitamami. That's how the Rebbe says it. Upon him. What is shy to everybody is in from Ketoiras. Well, that's our Kashus. L'mayla miseichel amusig. Shazeh b'chinas yitzia mia kliya magbio. And that's the heifer ha'ava. Mea is bonus to hu chayecha. Shazeu ishashvus oir b'kli. Or that's Takia, Yerida from the oir into the kli. When I say Yerida, the Shefa, which is Nimsha, from the Moichin and the Yisraelis and the Midas, are in their Kalim. This is in the Moyach, and later it's in the Leiv, and they always have a Kesher and Ashpor, one of the one after the other. Over here, the whole Indian of the Asog is only to lead up into the Etzem, and he said, therefore, that's the Indian of Ketuiras, but that's Kesher, and Kesher means here, Aval is Kashrus, the Ketuiras, Ubchinas HaKtiro, Indian, which is put down in that version of Rashbi, Hainu Kesher Shel Kayoma, Shel Amayla Miaseicho, the Avazu, Eina Choy Lefes Ve'oi, whereas that this particular Ava never, how do you call it, alters or blows away, as you might say. Cholefes, it sort of gets lost after the union from Tefillah v'Ka'itza Bezer. Now here's a very periodic Nakuda, but there are more or less Messiahim, the whole beer with this Nakuda. He said, Kasher, you've already been oiler from that is boninus into the Aveda Mitzati Etzem. Then he said, the union from Ketiro means, and it's much more that he's touching that in the Aramic, that the union from Ketira, there's something in that Aramic statement there, Chad Ketiro, that's indicative of a Kesher Shel Kayoma. It's like maybe we discussed together that the whole union, the Aliyah of the Sefas Aramis, but that's the Aliyah on the Sutta. I saw a perfect example from Rabban. This time we'll be going past. And that gives a tremendous idul to our whole, we were talking about the Shidurim for Noya Tmim before, for the whole at the program. The yeshiva, the Rebbe says in a couple of places in Gimel and in the Dalet, Gimel and Dalet, the Rebbe brings up about the Maila of what Moshe Rabbeinu was Metagim, and he was Matik, the Torah, we call Shivim Loshen, the whole Shivim Moshe. And the Rebbe brings up he says that that's the beetle of the whole curse of the Dura Floge, that Ishmas Reyehu, but from Piru, that they were all Rosh HaKodesh, from Skulls, but Hayichud, and this is the April for them. He said, Adidei, what you learn Torah in their Lashonas, you bring them back the whole Yichud. You bring them back, and you makasha them back into the Inik. It's one of the Lashon. It's like a Inik Klali of that people, as if you learn. Like he brings that the Baal Shem Tov used to say words in Polish and in other languages, Davke. It was Davke Inim by him to do that in order to be Male and Madbik of those inyonim, B'teicha Kedusha, but they say you Male the whole Shurish of that Ummah, Pili Plastic inyonim. So the Rebbe said that's the beetle of the whole inyan of the Dura Floge, the Abshoche Sa'ira Alidei Sheroim Dim Torah B'Sfoso. And the Rebbe brings down in Perik and in Chelik Dalit, he mentions the more Bariches, that he says over there that Davke Yekola Gavoya Yeser Yerad Lamata Yeser. He said when you learn Torah in a sofa from the Sfasa Amim, well that's Mamshik a higher koyach in Torah, and that gives a shefa, how do you call it, omuk Yeser Mitzad Yetzim learning Mitzad Yetzim Hashpoah the Torah. That's gives a deeper shefa. What you learn in a sofa from the human. So just imagine, if we sit once a week, we learn one of the highest things that ever hit the world, the Hemshech Chaim Beis, and we learn it in Sofa Anglia. So what, I think that's an amazing idul. If you just learn like basic English, that's geweldig point right, and read of Yiddish, or read of Kodesh, or stuff. Now, we see that the Rebbe says that's got a mile atzuma, as they bring it on. He said it's Davke a mile. As Heipach, but certain other Gedolim you saw one of the Taina that you're allowed to learn Torah only either by Yiddish or by Sofa HaKodesh, you have a Torah lernen and andere Sprachen, das Machal, it's good for the Torah, das. We see the Rebbe gehalten, mamish verkehrt. Aber nicht stand, the Rebbe didn't agree with that. Had gehalten, mamish hafuk mizeh. We see that the Rebbe's shitty is that that's Davke, the Koyach HaKi Elyoy. At the day what you bring out the Indian from Torah into these adequate sofas, the L'Sheina So'amim, well, that's a bureau omak Haviyesa in the whole Indian from the world and the whole Indian from the Yuma So'ila, and the ganze do it. He said, and therefore it's a big union to teach them the Sheva Mitzvahs, but not Davki B'Sposom, Davki in their language. With the ganze union, that's Makasha them mamish into the. Then he goes even further. They would Yidden themselves learn union in Torah b'safashilahem, even though they're not learning that, or Yidden learn it in their lashon. But that's poil behema a ganze amshachel, which mevatel all the dvarim abilti rutzuyim. When I get to Pirud, almost on the day to Aflogo or Nachazal Chinyan, Pirud place. It's mamish heipach hamistaber on the day Roy Va'olam, when there's most lernen Torah in English, but geheißen das dort, who says, what says well, I've heard it in Hashem certain Gedolei Yisrael. They were by no means write-offs, they were big people. And then we see that the Rebbe is all Mahalach is cool, Pelidike, Andristike, Gisha. The Rebbe sees pink verkehrt in them. That was one of the big changes the Friedrich Rebbe made in the whole Lubavitch. Yeah, when he came to America, the Friedrich Rebbe started to tell that they should translate certain inyonim and give them over all Kaponim. Well, he wrote certain things, which he wanted that they should be given out in English, even though he didn't. He wanted that people should give them out. So far, Anglia stuff. And should start this whole union of certain inyonim in Pnimis coming out in the Safasa Medina. That's 100. There was a big ufta to the Friedrich.
That's for the
It seems to
Birurim.
be mashma that when the Chabadikim were in Shanghai, they put out things in Chinese.
Could well be.
I read something that mashma that was put out in
If you see what the Rebbe says in Neisichas, you
because
just
that's
go
what
out
they were
and kill
speaking
it.
in this.
It was to hold in pink verkehr. That was the biggest possible thing to collapse. That's a state of. And not only that, the Rebbe brings down dort in a Ha'orah. It's most interesting. The Rebbe brings down in a Ha'orah from the Hakdama, the unbelievable computerized Geonas from the even though he never used a computer in his life. That the Rebbe brings down there from a Hakdama to the Sefer Choyves Halavovis. That's from the Rabbeinu B'chai Sheni, or Isnech, like that. Two Rabbeinu B'chai. Bringt er dort. That was in the Hakdama to this. What is the Hakdama? The Hakdama was a thing that was written by the translator, because the Rabbeinu B'chai wrote it in Arabic. And all Choyves Halavovis is a Tirgum. It's one of the Choyves Halavovis is a Tirgum. So the Matargim writes that there's 3 inyonim in a Tirgum. That there's you have to know, first of all, Lashon Kodesh very well. Then you have to know, you have to be able to be matik into the other Lashon, and that has to be B'tachas HaTiyuk. And you also have to know the Indian B'tachas HaTiyuk. And you have to be able to use that in Mamshit that in Lashon Kodesh, and then be Mamshit that over into the so the Rebbe writes a whole thing, or the Rebbe writes a constant cheshbon, that the Yediyas Asofer, this is the union from Yehuda Tatoa. The Yediyas, this Yehuda Chayzit, Lashon Kodesh, Yediyas Ayin, this Yehudi Loa, Yediyas Ayin, all we have to be Mamshit Yehudi Loa into Yehuda Tatoa, and Sofkos of Mamish into the Olam HaPirud. That's the Umas Olam. You have to know the language. And then he calls it Ulai Ze Yeshu Amiti V'Yeshu Nivra V'Yeshu Nivra Od Yeridim. I'm telling you, it's mamish mind-boggling. I saw it a couple of weeks ago. I had to look up something, and all of a sudden I came up on the singing about, I remember the Rebbe told me that we should talk Dafke English. The Rebbe said that it's all late enough English. And teaching the Chevra in English and told me. And the Rebbe was very chatchil about it. I thought, I'm a serious nefesh with Lubavitch, and it's all late enough English. And if you look in these sikhs, you see pink verkehrt. You see Korab's...
It's an union of Birurim.
Yeah,
but now the Rebbe said we finished the...
Yeah, but here the Rebbe says more than Birurim. Here the Rebbe said there's a mamish, the beetle, but the whole union from the Deraf. It's the Amshochas HaYichud, take the...
I think the Rebbe says Lasi Lava, where everyone's going to speak Lashon HaKodesh.
Yeah, so was it.
So maybe...
that's all Inyan Acher. Here the Rebbe talks about the usage of Torah in a Zam Minoifen comes from a very, very high Madrega, and it's part of the Gilei Elokus in the Eilu, which Ein Achanami, Mistamad leads to the Gilei from Bliosim. But so much in from Biro, it's in from Gilei Elokus, but Mokim Apiro. Pera. Oh, so Pera. And he makes three madrigas, the Yesha Miti and the Sofa, the Sananda, and eventually it got through the Tirugum, Gate to Sarim, but Mamish in Oilam Apiru. This Mamish told the Inu from the Chuli Lord, Mamish, I saw that in Hayora, my Mamish, my eyes just jumped out. I said, you have to go find in the middle of this translator's introduction to the Chayyus Alavovit, or these three Inyanim, and to make them into something. Das ist nicht Teva, nicht Bederech HaTeva. Das ist das Melech HaMashiach being nilcham mit dem Metzias Olam. Like the other night, somebody said to me, why aren't you allowed to take mashke? Why is it not good to get shike? I said, because Melech HaMashiach was nilcham naked zeh. Melech HaMashiach said, you're not allowed to take any more than 3 classes. The Taisa said, Melech HaMashiach need givot, and was a stam shikera. Lo ratzad alakis. Never mashke zeh, Melechayim. Ja, der Sefer Simcha, der Sefer Sischabrus, aber Stam Schicker und so. Come on. Aber mir, that's what I answered somebody who asked me the other night. Aber mir, we have to know that all these Inyanim, does it the Milchama from Melech HaMashiach, you can see it. I thought to myself, the lies, that what the Rebbe says about these Inyanim from the Rishonim is, I knew that the Rebbe had gehalten from by Moshe HaTorah, so it, Hertig, I am ashamed, Rashi bringt das doch. I knew the Rebbe, aber da steht das auch. Ich habe gehabt, es ein anderes Wort. We see, dass Melech HaMashiach was Mamish bringing these Inyanim, betoich Pirud Oedom.
Rebbe himself was...
Pilipler, Mamish, Adov and Niflish ain't come up. Amen. That's what the Rebbe says here. That the Inyan from Ketores, maybe why he calls it here Katira, because that's the Aliyah, that's one of the Sfas Arami years, the Shaykh is also upon him to Rosh Kodesh, Shaykh to Rosh Kodesh. Or it's a Inyan from Michutz, or that's the Aliyah and the Dveik is in Rosh Kodesh, or that's the Inyan from Akesha, Ulai Biglaus is a Yerad Lamata, Beteich Arami. So that's a simon that the Sherish Mimeno is go Hoich, and therefore there because of the Kesha Shal Kayoma. Now that's a period that this Ava ain't a Chalev is Voiveres. It's not Mishtane. So it's moving. Yesh Laharik was on Amazon, unfortunately I had 2 surgeries on Sunday, and it's hard for me to talk because my gum is still very sore from the whole thing. I can't be married now. But that what he writes about this hour, Bli Neder, Be'ez Hashem, and the coming Shiva will be matish a bit more of a Tzumas level there. But he says that the Ava is in a Chalevas Voiveres. It doesn't pass over. It doesn't go away. Yesh Laharik was exactly into what Gedorim does that fit. I mean, we can say that's Inyan from Riusa Deliba, that's a Rotzen Atzmi. So it's more the Inyan from Avo, how it's over. The Inyan from Rotzen, it's Inyan from Rotzen Amiti, or maybe it's connected with what he brings there in Pasha V'Yechi and Torah, the Inyan from Avarabo, even though that's also a very interesting because a big pilpul was, he calls it the Avarabo, and Tani calls it Ava, but Tanurim, Arrogance, pilpul, of a Sokos. Where the Kashas and the Rotzen in Elakus, which we call Ava, is not Mitzad Agoyrim anymore, but it was only a goyim to get to the etzem, and it's mitzad the etzem, then it's not shayat that it should go away. In other words, you don't lose azar avo. So even though you may not feel it, every tzaddik feels it the ganze Zeit, or you may not feel it, mamish korigam, but it's like walking under the, under the surface. It would never let you move away from it. In other words, once that Av is there, then you can't really ever lose the effect of that Ava. It may not be the whole koch of the Ava, but the effect of it is there. In other words, it's always a we're holding you. It's like sort of saying, wait a minute, it's the sort of azhora pnimius of that Ava, b'kol rega. Once it's been misoida, then you never really lose the effect of it. You've had it. That's why you're kanui al yedei avazu. But yesh laharik, we'll maybe talk about it a little more. Nimta, ha'efresh bein korbanos liktoiros, the korbanos hu avida de b'chinas pnimi, the nefesh. Ktoiros hu avida b'chinas oyer makif de nefesh. In other words, oyer makif meaning the in and of the etzem mamish. Mamila, that's the word ketiro. It's a unifinish kashrus, barakesha shel kayoma. So we have to say that a kesha shel kayoma is not really an ordinary type of kesha, because most kshurim can be chaponim, they can be undone. But if we say it's a kesha shel kayoma, or ena cholefes, v'ena oiveres, then that indicates that really the two things belong together. They're really like one union, and therefore it's a ketira, it's not stomach kesha. It's kashas atzmiyas. So we'll leave it up to your good taste and your good efforts to read the Kitzur, because I can't anymore. This whole thing is getting a little bit uncomfortable again. So it's funny when you talk, it's yeah, I mean, for years I never went to a mamish, but I would say totes. Is so what do we see from that? That Keteros Agor Tzarech Chazak is so let's get going, guys. The whole thing from the service to the Gula Buti Sofik to be Madrei Gesu. Das ist Sinane, das ist nicht auf wie Taum Vedas. And I remember the Ketira in Melech HaMashiach Atzmi, in the Osiyah Doyer Shema Eres Kolein. It also has to be in Aiva, from Leich Chofer, Loya Veres, has to be in Aiva. It was he would me verstehen what the Rebbe will. Oh yes, now we understood what the Rebbe wanted. Oh yes, it has to be in Aiva from Ketira. We don't understand, but we wissen, hat der Rebbe sagt, dass jeder so mehr, da sein wir haben Union im Prinzip zu Levova, ki atzumim mitzad the kesher atzum. Moshe Rabbeinu touches out that kesher kemuva in Torah, Baruch, Parsha Mishpatim. Also then Parsha Rishit. So no, das ist es.
What about Purim Kol? Bring it.
Can't have everything.
I already mentioned bringing Kol.
I was very careful to mention Purim Kol. You have to forgive me. I'm just going through a very difficult time at the moment. It's hard for me to, outside what I give to my children in my life and the yeshiva, it's hard for me to take on other right now. Really. Also, the months of Claudia is very so So I do the best I can within what I can give. So, but I don't know, maybe I should imagine well for bring it. When is it cut? Tomorrow? Could be some sort of it's a big day for a cut. Good. Okay, guys.
I've got one question. Concerning the Birur of Aramit, being that the Torah only invented the Shara Lashonis after Dur HaPalaga, where does and the Torah was Hashem read the Torah to invent the world. Where did he get the words like Anochi, Ketoret before they were invented? How did they fit into the Torah?
Yeah, in other words, the word Anochi is like the Rebbe says it's like I think the Rebbe says it's a Greek.
Mitzri.
Mitzri, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, all those words including
Mitzri.
Where they come from if it hasn't been invented.
No, well, we just have to say very much Bekitzer since the Hoine from Torah was given Lamata, Davki to be Miyachet, the Tartainim, Berlioinen. It's and if he this sicher from the Rebbe, that that's a in an ikri in Torah, that it has to be Moishech, the Sofis, the Yumas, into Torah. Because the Sofa is like a Indian clothing, but it's more and that's sicher from the Rebbe. Purim, we spoke about him, whenever being a Rosh Mitzvah. Purim is also, the word Purim is a Rosh Parts. The word Pur is a Rosh Parts. So the Rebbe spoke all things, that the Indian from the Sofa, Ranuma is a Indian Ikrishabayim. That's the whole way that they give themselves around. It's the Sprach. So that was the Indian from Vayera, Ravayal, HaSinai, the Yerida, Lamata Mata, to be mal the Tartinim into the Elyanim, well that has to be Moishech also, Nitutzes of the Sofas. And that's the Indian of Rosh Kodesh. And Aramis. Aramis is like a min Indian which was shot to the snake. And then we find that Aramis is very early. It's like a sprach on its own. You follow? But it's a Indian which has been brought into the world. Dafki matumi etzem gvula kedusha. Through the tremendous killer of Matan, the Atzmi, these in them, Animshach. It's like a mavucha pulling in all the netzutzes. And that's a shelik from the Bira Hataktim down. And the day Matan. Remember, that fits in well here. That the Yom Materas, the Atzmi, that was Moshe Petech,